I was waiting for some of the people, so we'll start now then, okay? Welcome to today's Housing Regeneration Operations Overview Committee meeting. I would like to start by acknowledging a change in the committee membership, and therefore I would like to welcome both Councillor Carl and Daniel Jellyman to our committee. Welcome very much. Thank you. I will go round the table in a moment, ask people to introduce themselves. But before we go any further, there are some housekeeping arrangements I would like to ask our governing representative, Craig, who's sitting next to me, to make you aware of.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, can I ask that all mobile phones be switched off or set to silent, please? In the event of a fire, you will hear a constant siren. I'm not aware of any planned practices this afternoon. If the fire alarm does sound, please exit calmly to the cenotaph, located in front of the King's Hall, taking the belongings with you. This is an open and publicly accessible meeting, and I can see that we do have observers in attendance, and the Chair would like you to feel very welcome. Anyone present today may take photographs, film and audio record the proceedings, and I've already been informed that there will be some people doing so. As Chair of the meeting, it's Councillor Keller's responsibility to ensure that these activities do not disrupt the proceedings. I would therefore request that the following rules are observed during any recording of the meeting, by ensuring that you do not move outside the areas designated for observers, cause excessive noise during recording, setting up or reciting the equipment, use of intrusive lighting or flash photography, asking for people to repeat statements for the purposes of recording, or providing oral commentary of proceedings. Observers must also be aware that by entering the meeting room and using the public sitting areas, you may also be filmed. I need to make it clear that observers are to take no part in the meeting, and whilst you're very welcome to be here, if there is any disruption caused, the Chair may need to ask you to leave. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dave. Thank you. Moving on to introductions. If I can start on my left with the Vice Chair.
Yeah, Councillor Laura Davidson, Councillor Mere North and Vice Chair of this committee.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Finlay Gordon Cusco, Councillor for Hollybush and Burton, and I'm here in my capacity as Cabinet Member for Transport, Infrastructure and Regeneration.
Mark Reith, Director of Repairs and Maintenance.
Hi, Rob Vernon, Director of Operations and Regulatory Services.
Adrian Scarrett, Director of Private Sector Housing and Community Safety.
Councillor Chris Robinson, Cabinet Member for Housing, Planning, Governance and Licensing.
Councillor Duncan Walker, Cabinet Member for Safe and Resilient Communities.
Sarah Hill, Cabinet Member for Finance, Resources and
Nick Evans, Corporate Director of Resources and Section 151 Officer.
Helen Russell, Head of Finance, Housing and General Operations.
Darren Bamford, Lead Petitioner, General Dogs Building.
Carol Gibbs, Corporate Director for Housing Regeneration and Operations.
Tony Lovell, Director of Delivery. Paul Parkinson, Director of Housing Management.
Laura Carter, Councillor for Moorcroft and Watson Green.
I'm faithful. I haven't changed parties this week. My name is Adrian Pepper, and I'm a councillor for Bircheshead and North, and also lost my chain of thought there, and member of the committee.
Councillor Daniel Jones, Councillor for Trenton, Cranfield and Newstead.
James Noble, I'm the Council Statutory Monitoring Officer, also today representing the Statutory Scrutiny Officer, so it's a pleasure to align a different Scrutiny Committee to give you my wisdom and advice as necessary.
Catherine Palmer, I'm just here sort of learning the ropes and doing the executive apology.
And Craig Sands, Government Services.
Thank you to everyone. Now, if we now move to the agenda, item 1 is apologies for absence. Can I please ask the governing representative to advise of any apologies?
Thank you, Chair. Apologies this afternoon from Councillor Irving.
Okay, I conclude the minutes of the last meeting, which was on the 12th of November 2025. Can I please ask if anybody has any issues with the accuracy of the minutes? Yes? No? Okay. Can I please ask for someone to move and another to second the minutes of an accurate record? Item 3 is a disclosure of interest. Does any committee member need to disclose an interest in relation to today's agenda? Councillor Carter?
I don't know if it applies today, but I'll disclose it anyway. I am still a board member of Unitas, whilst it's still a company, I think.
Chair. Yes, I'm also Director of Unit House for that purpose. Thank you, Councillor Carter.
Anybody else? Sorry,
Just the standard line of workers and the state I think I've got no connections with them.
Thank you.
Yes,
Sorry.
the lead petitioner has contacted me in relation to the petition before the committee, but I've explained to the petitioner that I keep an open meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Dillon? Councillor?
Sorry, I have hosted some of the meetings in my capacity as the manager of FEGA's features with regards to this petition. I don't know if that needs to be disclosed, but...
Thank you for your work. Thank you very much, Councillor. We'll work hard.
And another director of unit has. Thank you.
So, Chair, just for the record, none of those are pecuniary in this situation, so we're absolutely fine to continue. They're more like declarations for transparency, so I'm very happy with all those being made.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Item 4 is an aging business, and I can confirm that I have not been advised of any aging business that I need to go for today. If we can now move on to the main item of business today, starting with item 5, petition to be considered election of Packmoor Masterplan. I would like to welcome Mr. Darren Bamford, who is the lead petitioner in relation to this item. As has been outlined within the report, there is a set procedure for considering petitions in an overview school committee meeting. This can be found on page 8 of the agenda pack. All details of the petition have also been included on Appendix 1 on page 10. I will shortly hand over to the lead petitioner and ask you briefly outline the details of your petition and what action you would like taken as a result of it. Committee members will then have opportunity to ask questions to verify their understanding if needed. Now, Darren Bamford to be allowed 5 minutes to briefly outline his petition or request. Can I just ask you, Darren, do I call you Mr. Bamford?
No, Darren's fine. Darren's fine.
Thank you for clearing that anyway. Now you've got 5 minutes to...
Well, before, we've got some quick fact sheets that we can just hand out.
Yes.
Is that okay?
So, Chair, the difficulty with handing out information is it breaches the Access to Information Protocol, the Local Government Act 1985. We have to give notice of anything considered at committee in order to meet those regulations. So, can I just ask what's in the fact sheets, obviously?
It's just, well, I can't...
Yeah, the difficulty is...
Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this is just the way the Local Government Act works in terms of that basis.
Okay.
Thank you for reading that up. Thank you. Now you've got 5 minutes then.
Can I just set up in 2 seconds?
Chair, I think 5 minutes is a reasonable amount of time.
Can I just say before we start, I'm just a guy from home. This is completely alien to me, and it's very intimidating from where I'm sitting at the moment. So please,
Yeah, just take time and we'll listen to you.
Yeah.
It goes on.
Take your time then.
Okay.
You got your pace.
Darren, if it helps, we feel exactly the
Yeah.
same.
Okay.
And Chair, if I can, Darren, the committee really want to hear everything you've got to say, so please take the time to get as much out as you can, and there really is no pressure whatsoever.
Right. Okay then. So,
Thank you.
I will start now. So, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Chair. I also want to thank the City Council for this opportunity to allow me to speak today. I'm here as the lead petitioner, but also as a collective voice representing the Community Association of Packmoor, Newtown, Newchapel, Harrisey, incorporating Packmoor Millennium Green Trust and the associated members from Great Shell, Feggays and Brimley Ford. My opening statement to this committee is, I appear before this committee to formally challenge the inclusion of councillor-owned site H58 Packmoor, designated as agricultural, greenfield and green space land within both the proposed master plan and the draft local plan. These two draft plans have been developed concurrently and are now fundamentally linked and intertwined. As a result, they carry a collective impact on Packmoor's village, the residents and the surrounding communities, an impact that is significant, long-term, in our view, has progressed without proper consideration of its consequences for the residents, the biodiversity and the local government environment. Local residents, neighbouring communities stand united against this proposed master plan. The strength of feeling is so profound that Ward Councillor Mountford felt compelled to resign from the Labour Party and to stand with his residents. This is no longer just a planning debate, it's a crisis of confidence of how the city is governed. There is widespread and persistent perception that planning decisions are being driven by national party priorities with insufficient challenge to or accountability of central government, despite the direct and detrimental effects it will have on established communities like Packmoor. Over the past 12 months, Packmoor community has compiled a substantial and robust body of evidence supported by clear public opposition, includes majority objections and serious failings in public engagement, particularly in relation to the so-called vision of Packmoor, process which was poorly executed and fundamentally flawed. These shortcomings have significantly undermined the public trust and confidence, raising serious concerns about transparency, accountability and the integrity in the council's decision making, especially in the treatment of the ward of Great Charles and Packmoor. Residents' lived experience has been one of disengagement, unanswered correspondence, declined or ignored requests for meetings, blocked social media engagement and a complete absence of meaningful involvement from our Member of Parliament Stoke-on-Trent North or our other elected ward councillor. Most troubling is the repeated assertion that the council is listening and at the same time saying doing nothing is not an option, a position that strongly suggests that the outcome has already been predetermined. The Cabinet report clearly sets out three options. Option A, do nothing. Option B, develop proposals through a master plan. And option C, market and dispose of developable land to house builders. If doing nothing was not a valid option, it would not appear in the report. It is therefore explicitly recognised and remains a live option today. This is also reinforced by the first Packmoor Community Liaison Group meeting in October 2025. Under the title Master Planning, it presents 5 options, including option 5, do nothing.
How many left?
The repeated assertion that doing nothing is not an option is therefore factually incorrect and directly contradicted by the Council's own published documents. This committee now has an opportunity to restore confidence, properly scrutinise the evidence and ensure that decisions are made with genuine interest of the communities affected. I may ask whether all the committee members here today have seen, read and are aware of all the documents that the local residents and the community association have shown. Our justification for bringing this petition to formal scrutiny is rooted in 2 serious failings: the substance and credibility of the proposed master plan and the supporting data and clear breakdown of policy process, governance and councillorship. These failures are evidenced across the following highlighted groups: public opposition, the majority support from residents, 1,330 signatures on this petition, 1,637 signatures on another change or position, 315 community surveys submitted and completed. Overdevelopment, the allocation of housing and population surge. Identity, the total loss of Packmoor's village and status. The environment, irreversible impact on biodiversity and the lifestyle. Infrastructure, the lack of capacity in schools and services. Highways, dangerous levels of increased road pressure. And policy conflicts in decision making using City Council's policy strategies and framework and guidelines.
Can you wrap up please now?
Yeah, along now.
Can we give another minute, Chair?
Chair, my thoughts would be a situation that Mr. Barrett.
Okay.
There's one right next to it.
From our research, it is now clear that City Council's policies and statements contain conflicts and contradictions, particularly with the reference to Brownfield's first policy, Strategic Housing and Economic Land Availability and Assessments 2019 to 2024, Stoke-on-Trent Housing Delivery Action Plan 2025, Stoke-on-Trent Residential Mix Assessment Report of July 2025, Green Space Strategy of 2021 and the Empty Homes Strategy of 21 to 26, Plainfield Strategy of 21 to 2040, the Draft Local Plan 2020 to 2040 and the National Planning Framework of 2020. So, with your permission, Chair, I'd like to propose a few specific questions to the committee and wrap up by presenting our proposed recommendations. But that would mean extra time.
Yes, that's fine.
That's fine.
That's fine, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I've got in total 7 questions. To be honest, it wasn't really explained to me that there was a time on this. I'll be honest, nobody said to me there was a time. I just assumed it would be about 15, 20 minutes. But is that okay to carry on? Yeah, okay, thank you.
Councillor Napper, can I just ask you, you want to consider?
So, my first question comes in 3 parts, and it's with reference to the strategic. Let me just put this on. So it's with reference. Now, do you refer to this as Sheila? Can I say Sheila? Do you all know what I mean? So I don't have to. Charles. Okay. So we'll call it Charles. Okay. So in reference to Charles. So basically, the table for the 2019 Charles, as you can see, was quite. This actually shocked me. That it was identifying 430 sites across the city and a potential for 80,000 dwellings. And your deliverable target was 5,000. Now, in 2019, when we did that assessment, site then as it was 425, is now known as H58, was not included in their numbers. Move forward 5 years, and 2024 table now does include that site. Okay, so, and the dwellings are still over 70,000, and we've dropped slightly to 4,500 deliverable. So my first question, in 2019, the council branded the site 425 H58 as high risk and not deliverable. Today, with no new planning permissions, no new infrastructure, it has suddenly been rebranded as a preferred option. What specific physical or legal evidence has changed since 2019 to lower the risk, or is the council simply moving the goalposts to fit the predetermined outcome? Question 1B. The 2024 shear indicates capacity for over 70,000 dwellings across the city, yet the council's fixated on site H58. The site is explicitly rejected in 2019 as unavailable. Why is the council now ignoring hundreds of deliverable urban plots to pursue a greenfield site that its own experts previously deemed high risk? 1C. Policy inversion. The council's 2019 assessment excluded site H58 because it was unavailable and undeliverable. Given the site remains physically unchanged and lacks infrastructure, on what professional basis has the council performed the policy inversion that now includes, and why should the public trust any evidence based on that contradicts its own findings? Question 2. Given
Just to interrupt you for a minute, has all these got a sub?
No,
no. Okay, thank you.
Questions 2 to 6 is one question. Question 7 again has 2 parts. Okay, is that okay?
Yeah. I just want to make sure because one may be.
Yeah. Okay. No. I really appreciate having a crack at the whip. Thank you for this extra time. Much appreciated.
Okay.
So question 2. Given that both 2019 and 2024 Sheila identify immense housing capacity of over 70 to 80,000 dwellings across the city, why has the council chosen to target greenfield land of Packmoor Village? Furthermore, since the council has previously exercised its legal authority to remove specific sites from availability, as it did in 2019, why has that same discretion not been applied again to Packmoor H58, especially in light of the petition by 1,330 residents and the community survey showing 91.9% strongly opposed to this master plan? That was from the community survey, question number 4. Question 3. Stoke-on-Trent's current housing delivery test, HGT, scored 91%, triggered a mandatory action plan under paragraph 79 of the NPPF. However, instead of using this mechanism to unblock stalled brownfield sites, and as intended, the council appears to be using its own delivery failure as justification to target easy greenfield land of Packmoor. Why is the council rewarding its own poor performance on brownfield delivery and sacrificing our village identity and green fields? And how does the council justify the path of least resistance over brownfield first commitment? Question 3 on predetermination. The Cabinet repeatedly states that doing nothing is not an option. Since option A, doing nothing, was a formal choice in the public consultation and the Cabinet report, doesn't the statement prove an outcome of predetermined? I ask, if A was never a real choice in your eyes, was the entire consultation just a legally flawed box-ticking exercise? Question 5 on village character. The NPPF paragraph 130 mandates that development must be sympathetic to local character. Given that the proposed allocation represents a 112 population increase for Packmoor, how can the council justify doubling the size of a village, effectively forcing urban sprawl while claiming to protect its unique identity, the residents' health and well-being and wildlife? Question 6 on declining brownfield performance. In 2023-4, the council's brownfield delivery plummeted from 72% to just 38%. Is the council targeting easy brownfield sites like Packmoor simply to compensate for its own failure to manage difficult urban regeneration projects that unlock privately owned brownfield land and work with developers to overcome these constraints? The council must also be challenged to prove they have exhausted the £60 million in grant funding they've received to secure brownfield remediation work. Last question. Housing numbers and population demand. The Housing Delivery Action Plan of 2025 projects a population growth of 16,600 people, yet the local draft plan forces a target of 45,000 new residents. Why is the Cabinet ignoring its own evidence to push a housing target 2.5 times higher than reality? And why haven't you challenged the government to prove this one-size-fits-all formula fails the people of Stoke-on-Trent? 5 years of the plan have already passed and 2,462 homes are already completed, yet you haven't recalibrated your targets. If you adjusted for the remaining 15 years, the requirement drops from 18,960 to 14,440 homes. Why is the council using phantom numbers to justify building on Packmoor groundland when the maths show the target is already obsolete? If you use a recalibration, you are using a 20-year target for a 15-year remaining period. This is 4,500 homes error. If you fix that math error today, you don't need to destroy the site on Packmoor. And question 7C, the Cabinet's own evidence projects a population increase of 16,000 people, but your local plan demands 44,500. That's a 28,000 person discrepancy. Why are we destroying Packmoor's identity to satisfy a phantom target? Will you finally demand special conditions from the government to reflect our city's true demographic needs. The NPPF allows exceptional circumstances to deviate from the formula, given that your own 2025 Housing Action Plan projects a growth of only 16,629, while the formula demands 44,500. Why is this council and our MPs not using this £28,000 person discrepancy to challenge the target and protect our green spaces? And that's all the questions done. Thank you again for the extra time.
Thank you, I should be happy with that anyway, with all the down low. Thank you, James.
Chair, thank you very much. Now, obviously, there's a combination of points being raised there in the presentation. In the questions, there were points for members to consider in how they deal with this issue and the issues which are raised. Some of those points are very detailed and technical. I wouldn't expect officers to be giving answers to those at this particular stage. Obviously, that could take place in writing subsequently, but with a detailed nature of it. But I think it was a combination there of questions and points of interest in terms of how making this case, which is important for you to consider. So just to say that for the officers' benefits. But anything the officers can touch on generally would be, absolutely fine. But I wouldn't expect detailed answers to those specific questions.
Thank you very much, James. Can I just allow an opportunity now for questions to verify understanding if needed, just for the committee members only? So if committee members want to just clarify anything from Darren, you can do so. Yes, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for that, Darren. It's really informative. When you talk about this figure, the 16,000, does that include marriage breakdown, the ageing population, children growing up and buying houses? Or does that figure just include new people coming to the city?
No, it's again, if you look at that population trend, the trend there, the council outsourced, I can't remember the exact document, the Housing Delivery Action Plan, 2025 April. That was outsourced to Tetra Tech, and that document is obviously available. They carried out their survey and they went from midpoint of 2018 and they calculated that the city population would be plus 16,000. It doesn't break it down into why, but it's just an extra 16,000. It doesn't say why. Now, obviously my calculations, I went back for 33 years there, and they actually tally up because the report, the delivery action plan actually predicts that 16,000 increase up to 2043. Now, I only have obviously gone and basically marry up. So they're within a couple of thousand, they're exactly the same. So I was quite proud of the research that I did, married up with what Tetra Tech had come up with. So
that fit, can I carry on, Chair? One more question.
Okay.
The same question.
Yeah, okay.
So that figure, the 16,000, is only made up of new births and people. Can someone help me out, because I feel like I'm missing something?
I don't know. Again, it's like everything. If you look at any
But it's saying an increase in population, so that's only made up of new births and people moving into the city. So it doesn't take into account first-time buyers, people who get divorced and have to buy a house and move out.
But the population doesn't change. If they stay in Stoke-on-Trent, the population doesn't change. So you
No,
get
but
divorced,
the housing need does, because if I split up with my husband and he needs a house, that goes from one house to two.
Mm-hmm.
So if that happens across the city, if my son, who hopefully will be buying a house in the next 5 years, needs a new house, the population stays the same, doesn't it? Because he's in the city, my husband's in the city, so that doesn't factor into the 16,000 increase, but they would need a house.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right in saying that?
You clarify.
I can only answer what I can't interpret. Well, I can understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I'm just.
I don't know if I was missing something though. Can an officer clarify? Or is this only for Darren to answer?
No, but can I?
It's for Darren.
Okay, I can explain that. If we look at the trend over the last 33 years, then the population. So it's obviously whenever they do a census, they don't do censuses all the time, do they? But whenever I think the last census was 23, maybe mid-24. I'm not sure. I'm not sure of the exact date. But what I'm saying is, if you look at the trend there, it's a gradual. Now again, from 1991 to the early 2000s, we actually went down. The population decreased by over 10,000 Stoke-on-Trent over that period of time, and it's slowly come back up.
But to me, the increase or decrease in population numbers doesn't equate to the number of houses needed.
But that isn't what I'm saying, though, is it? I'm just talking about the population.
No, but when you're saying about the
Can I just have you
Chair.
one-to-one?
I'm sorry.
Just you made your point anyway.
No,
Is that clarified anyway?
there's the discrepancy of 20-odd thousand houses against the council's figure of 16,000 population. They don't marry up to me. That's what I'm trying to clarify.
I've lost.
I don't think that's...
Can I
Are you talking about?
Wait.
You welcome up to the cabinet portfolio holders and the officers that they will clear that up.
So I think, Chair, the question's been raised, and we'll see if we can answer that when we get to the future stage of the meeting.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Knapp, was your pen up? Do you want to speak or?
No, that's right, yeah. Basically, it's not about the figures of housing. I think you're not really... You don't need to tell us how many houses we need or not need in the city. The reality is, across the UK, we need to build more houses. The question is Packmoor the right location? And what I need you to tell me is why you think that location should not be included in the local plan.
Okay.
I don't give it 14, 18,000. It doesn't give any benefit to your case.
Okay.
The reality is, I want to know why all these residents have come here, sit behind each other, and why this council should not be including that in the plan.
Because fundamentally, we believe there's plenty of brownfield side opportunities, and as Sheila reports say, they're showing in excess between 70 and 80,000 extra dwellings have been identified without even Packmoor being in the equation. And again, if we're now looking at, if we can talk about the two things, the draft local plan where you're saying you're targeting 18,000 homes, building 18,000 homes, but that's over 44,000 people. The last 31 years in Stoke-on-Trent, the population's only gone up by about 19,000. So why are we building for 44,000?
Yeah, but you've been back to numbers, whereas I want to know...
Yeah, but like I say, as far as I'm concerned...
What makes that location, there should be a house on that location?
Because it's beautiful, it's my home, and it's lovely green land and it's green space, and there's plenty of brownfield sites available.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question.
Councillor Carter, did you want to come and ask another question, or are you clear on that?
I'm not clear, but I don't think I can make myself clear. So I'll wait until someone can help.
Okay, hopefully, maybe when the others they can answer that.
Yeah.
Right, now I will ask, sorry, you have to change the glasses. I will now ask the relevant cabinet members and senior of...
Sorry, I did have a question to ask Mr. Member.
Sorry?
I did have a question to ask Mr. Member. So the committee here today is not a decision-making committee. We can refer things to the cabinet member and the cabinet to consider. So what would you like the committee to ask the cabinet member or cabinet to look at?
Bear with me 2 seconds. So, we have 5 recommendations. So, we've got 5 recommendations. This committee endorses its recommendations and directs the evidence presented today to be returned to Cabinet and the relevant portfolio holders with an exception for the expectation of meaningful, considered and decisive action. 2. The documents contained within this report and the questions raised during this committee are fully scrutinised with comprehensive written responses provided to address all questions, the concerns and the highlighted points. 3. The response and feedback should be provided within a clearly defined and reasonable timescale, 6 to 8 weeks. 4. In the interest of transparency and repairing the relationship with the residents and its communities, we invite key officials, cabinet members to join us at our next public meeting to discuss the actions and or the amendments that this impact of scrutiny may have triggered. Having leadership present will go a long way of restoring the faith in the local decision-making process. And number 5, the City Council must leverage its authority in its dual role as landowner and planning authority by aligning the local plan with the evidence provided, removing the site from future allocations and stopping the current master plan for Packmoor H58, and they would honour the option A, doing nothing, the most sustainable option and therefore clearly supported by the majority of the residents in the community. There are 5 recommendations to the committee.
Thank you. Anything else on that?
Yeah, thank you, Chair.
Now I want to ask the relevant cabinet member or senior officers to respond to the points raised by that.
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Gordon Busker, yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Darren, for coming here and for everyone else in the Packmoor community for being here. I think I welcome the strength feeling about this from residents, and that's why throughout this whole process what we try to do is ensure that consultation is embedded and we get as much feedback from the community as possible. I'm clear, as the cabinet member, that the city needs homes. A lot of homes. There's a housing crisis in this city right now. There are hundreds and hundreds of people who don't have a suitable roof over their head. That includes children, parents, elderly people, and it's our responsibility to provide the people with the houses that they need. Our responsibility, and what I'm trying to do as the cabinet member, is to make sure that development is done properly, but not to pretend that it can be avoided. Now, I welcome the questions that you asked, and I try my best to get them down, so forgive me if I can't answer everything fully,
Yeah.
but I'm more than happy to take this up afterwards, via email or a second meeting, or the community liaison group that I insisted was set up to make sure that the community were included in this process. It's really important. Sorry, I just saw Councillor Manford laughing. I don't know what's so funny. But on your first point about the infrastructure, and you asked about what evidence has changed, or what has changed. Now, I've been very clear that we can't just go and build thousands of houses without the necessary infrastructure. Yeah. I think in the past, I've lived in this city all my life. I've seen development that has taken place in the past without the infrastructure, and we've seen the consequences. When I've come to the meetings in Packmoor previously, I've been told by residents about the issues with traffic and roads and lack of access to some of the services that are required, health, etc. And that's as a result, in my opinion, of poor planning in the past. I'm determined we don't make those same mistakes, which is why a master planning exercise is far preferable, in my view, to just giving carte blanche to developers to go and develop what they want. Because with that delivery mechanism, as it were, someone would just decide we're going to build X number of houses and, you know, would satisfy the legal requirements about access and all the rest of it with education and health. But actually, it's not going to be done in the interest of the community. That's why I've been clear that no development can take place in Packmoor without meaningful investments and improvements in infrastructure. That includes highways. We've had highways team at these meetings to listen to people's concerns and make sure that that can be developed up and worked up and embedded within the whole plan. You asked the question about ignoring hundreds of urban sites. I'd challenge you slightly on that. I don't think that that's a fair characterisation. Since we've taken over, obviously, you know, I'm a Labour councillor and this is a Labour council, it hasn't always been. Since we've taken over, the key element for me and my colleagues has been development in brownfield. We've worked with government agencies like Homes England and others to secure a lot of funding to bring brownfield sites back into use. As you know, brownfield sites are much more difficult to develop and require a lot of extra money. That's why we've backed it ourselves with funding, and that's why we go to government and ask for that funding. I can give you a load of examples. Just literally a stone's throw away from here is the Booth Street development, which will provide new homes for families that need it in our city. Former brownfield site, Pines Street in Shelton, the old Olympus work site in Hanley, Tunstall Library. There's an awful lot, and I've gone through that in detail with a lot of people who've corresponded with me, and I'm happy to provide a more thorough written account of that. But I just don't think it's a fair characterisation to suggest that we're ignoring hundreds of urban sites.
Can I just interject on that particular one about brownfield or not? Can I do that or not?
Sorry.
No, sorry, okay, sorry.
Thank you. As I say,
I don't know the procedures, I apologise.
I was in your position once and it wasn't particularly nice, so hopefully we can make it nicer. But you asked about the 2019 SLAR and asked why those houses hadn't been delivered. I'm afraid I can't answer that question. I wasn't the councillor. I was nothing to do with the council. The cabinet member at the time is here today. He was deputy leader as well, but that I can't answer that question. All I can talk about is what we're trying to do to build the houses that we need in the city. And you know, that comes back to the third question that you asked about delivery failure being used to justify greenfield. That isn't what's going on here. What we're saying is the city needs houses, people need homes, and we have to get on build. You asked the question, it was my statement, I was sat over there when we had a cabinet meeting and I said that doing nothing wasn't an option in my opinion. And I'm clear about that in my opinion, doing nothing is not an option. Technically it's an option, you know, we could sit on our hands as people have done in the past and do nothing, but all we'll get is stagnation and decline in the city, and I'm not here to oversee stagnation and decline. I'm here to make the city a better place for everyone. Now, I think I've covered the basis of the points that you made around not doing enough to bring brownfield back into use. The point you made, or the question that you asked about the one-size-fits-all approach. Now, what I have seen is some information circulating which suggests that we have the same housing target as everywhere else in the country. That isn't the way it works. Local authorities have targets based on the local authorities' needs and the demands of their population. So just from the outset, that's not the case at all. Now, what I'll say, I as you know, I've been in Packmoor, I've spoken with residents in Packmoor when we've had these meetings in the past, and I'll continue to do so through the community liaison group that I insisted was set up to support this process, because I think it's really important that the community is heard as we go ahead with that. The suggestion which I've heard is that we're just trying to concrete over all of the green and destroy what makes Packmoor, in the opinion, and rightly so, of the people that live there and love the green space. Now, I don't want to do that, and that is not what we will do. We've been really clear when it comes to the development of the Masterplan, which is going through the various phases, that Packmoor is Packmoor because of that. And so many people have spoken about the benefits for their mental and physical well-being, having that green space on their doorstep. I don't want to take that away. As you know, the site that is there currently isn't all open to the public. It's not some beautiful nature reserve. Some of it is tenanted. You've got horses on there. I've always said that people have more of a right to a house than a horse. That's just my opinion. But I'm really, really clear that when these plans come forward, firstly, we would not at all want any development that doesn't provide the infrastructure that people need, that the new people would need in those new houses, and that the existing people need, the existing residents need with what isn't there, the problems with the traffic and access to so many other services. And secondly, that when all is said and done and the final plan is presented, that must, without any qualification, include not only the protection of the vast amount of that green space, but actually increasing its quality, because it's about usable green space. I want green space that you can all take your family to and be proud of. You can walk your dog through the fields, you can take your kids to a nicer place to play. That's what this is about. It isn't just about building houses for the sake of it. There's a real housing crisis going on in the city right now. I'm determined to address that. We're determined to address that. But we want to address that with the community and work collaboratively. And you've got my assurance, as has always been the case, that I will listen. I will try my very, very best to make sure that we can incorporate what residents want for their local area in those plans, but that, in my opinion, we simply can't look the other way, as people have done in the past, and pretend that we don't need to build the houses that people are dying of right now. So that's my position. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gordon Costa, for a comprehensive answer. Thank you, Chair. Anybody else would like to speak?
So there's just 3 points I'll probably add to what Councillor Gordon Costa has said. I think number 1, and where I think we all agree with you, Darren, in terms of a big chunk of your presentation, is that brownfield sites have to be the first to be delivered, and the current government policy is a brownfield first policy, and that's something which, if you look at what the council is directly delivering in terms of its new build council homes, we're doing all of that at the moment on brownfield sites. We're also working with developers of privately owned sites to take forward some really, really difficult sites that are brownfield. For example, a big site to the rear of Asda on Scotia Road in Tunstall, about 300 homes, and we've worked with a developer to cap off mine shafts and bring that forward for housing. So fully, there's no argument there. I think second point is that for those brownfield sites, indeed for any site to come forward, the landowner has got to be willing for it to be developed. And it is not always the case that for all brownfield sites in the city, for whatever the reason is, the landowner is agreeable for them to be brought forward. So I get lists of brownfield sites every month of people, and we happen to know as a council that some of the owners have other plans. Yeah. They don't wish housing to be developed on that, and as they're privately owned, that has to be respected. I think the third point I would make is that there has been quite a significant under-delivery of new homes in the city over many, many years. So without getting into lots of numbers, some of the headline numbers just to illustrate that point is that as a city, leaving aside anything to do with government targets and policies, this city should be delivering around about 700-ish new homes per annum every year. For the last 4 years for which there's figures available, there's been an average of 466 new homes being delivered. And what's happened in Stoke-on-Trent, indeed like other places, is that's built up into a big, big backlog that's translated into a huge unmet housing need. Because we've not been delivering collectively, whether that's the council, developers, landowners, we've not been delivering the right number of new homes to meet that housing need. And where that's led to is that we've got a pretty significant homelessness issue in the city. We've got over 3,000 people on the housing register at the council waiting for a council home. And there's a range of other housing need issues that I think everybody around the table is probably very familiar with. So wherever the new homes are built, and that's I think the argument you're making is it shouldn't be in Packmoor, the council as a planning authority has got to look at all of the options available to be able to increase the number of new homes of all tenures and all types that can be delivered within Stoke-on-Trent. So just a point I want to add on top of what the cabinet member has articulated. I think it's already been promised in terms of the 7 detailed questions and sub-questions. We're very happy to pick those up and give you a written response. I think we haven't come prepared to deal with the specific numbers that were presented today, but very happy that we get those as an action.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I don't understand the procedure. Can I come back and ask clarification on certain points or not? I don't know what the procedure is.
No, good.
No, okay.
I'll bring you in anyway.
Okay.
I will now open committee members' debate. May I remind the lead petitioner, cabinet members and officers that you may only be brought in to answer specific questions and you are not to take part in the debate. May I remind any observers that you may not take part in the debate. Following the debate, we will ask the lead petitioner if anybody wants to ask or want to clear anything. So it's up to the members now to debate.
Thank you. Just to clarify something the cabinet member said then, so the words were when the plans come forward, so the decision's been made then to develop that.
Yes.
I was talking in a very general sense about plans going forward. We can't say yes or no to potential plans that we don't know. But as and when plans are brought forward for any site, anywhere in the city, we look at them based on their merits. I haven't predetermined that development must take place here, nor is it in my gift to do so, as you know, Councillor Gentleman. That's not within my power.
So have you commissioned plans? Were any of your cabinet colleagues commissioned plans to be created for that one?
Thank you. As Councillor Gentleman knows, subsequent to the cabinet decision some months ago, a master plan is being drawn up. Yes, and as I outlined at the time in that cabinet meeting, of the three options, that was the preferred option because it enables the infrastructure to be designed into any potential plan that will come forward right from the outset.
So is it your personal view then, as the cabinet member, that you want to see Packmoor developed or not developed?
My personal view as the cabinet member is that we need to get on and build the houses that people in this city need, and that if plans for Packmoor are suitable, then I would welcome development as long as it were on a scale, on a level that was suitable and in keeping with the area. We've talked a lot. It didn't really come up in the discussion earlier, but about, for instance, the very distinct local identities that Packmoor and the areas surrounding Packmoor have. That's, as I've said before, something that I would want to be preserved if plans came forward. There's also so many issues about the infrastructure around it, but that is my opinion, and I think that we have to do everything that we can as a council to get us out of the housing crisis that we're in, because it isn't right that there are people in substandard houses, families living in HMOs. It isn't right, and I don't want it to carry on my watch.
So Chair, to continue on that thread then, so in the 2019 assessment Mr Bamford brought up, said that the site was high risk in terms of viability. Has that changed?
What the situation is now is that, as you know, Councillor Gentleman, because you've been a cabinet member previously and for a long time, there's been a real under-delivery of housing in the city. We have to do everything that we can to get us out of the housing crisis. The site itself is the same site. I just personally don't recognise that assessment that says that it isn't deliverable.
So can the Cabinet tell us what the housing delivery was for 2016-17?
Sorry?
Can you tell us how many net completions the City Council had in 16-17?
I don't have those figures down, but I'm
So
sure you can, Councillor Gentleman.
Yeah, I can. I'm just wondering if you made a statement there as the Cabinet member saying there's an under-delivery, but you don't know, do you? Because you don't know what the delivery was pre-pandemic.
Councillor Gentleman, cherry-picking figures to suit an argument.
I'm not cherry-picking anything, Chair. It's in the Council's own documents. It was 800 and then over 1,000 when the pandemic hit. What the officers have said is they've only got data going back 4 years, which is inaccurate. City Council's own website has this report on it. So that's just the point. If we're going to talk about clarity, it's worth just saying that the city was hitting its housing target before the industry came to a stop because of the pandemic. So I think we should just be honest and truthful about that. But really, finally, final question, Chair, is Can the cabinet member or any officer confirm that the development of Packmoor Fields, if the plans allowed, are not tied to, either in a contract or in terms of a gentleman's agreement in any document, to the emergency financial support the council's received in the past few years?
I treat those issues as totally separate. You know, development is about doing the right thing by the people of the city.
So there's no document from government that says we expect you to sell your assets and list Packmoor as one in order to tie up.
I'm not aware of such a
Can I just ask Councillor Carter?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to clarify what the officer said. I think he said the last 4 years data that was available, not what Councillor Jones said.
Do you want me to clarify?
Yes,
that point,
please.
Chair? Yes, so I was referring to the last 4 financial years for which there's housing data, not 2016 and 17, and I explained that the average across the 4 years was 466 homes delivered on average every year in that 4-year period. So as Gentleman is right, there's been a decline from 2016-17 to then, whether it's to do with COVID or
In
other
2019 to correct you, Tony, 2019.
Oh, I thought you said
2019 to 2020, the decline starts.
Okay, fine. But what I'm describing is the 4 years that I was describing is after that event.
Yeah, well, you did have data before that because you said the data wasn't available.
No, he didn't. He said the last 4 years.
Before that, the data wasn't available.
It was just to make it. You want to make another point or something?
No, I was just trying to clarify the numbers point, Chair. That was it.
Yeah, I think that point's been dealt with. I think my fellow statutory officer wishes to make a point for section 151 officer.
Thanks, Chair. And just in relation to the point around the FS, this was discussed this morning at the Resources Committee. All the pipeline of capital receipts would potentially need to be set against the FS based on the position that we've got. But each decision would be taken at the point in time at which a receipt was received. So there is nothing formally agreed or specific in relation to any given site, but all capital receipts, I think, in my view, are likely to need to be set against EFS, but that is a very generic position around all receipts that we've received because the scale of the EFS that we've got, vis-a-vis the receipts that we may receive need to be considered in that context. But as I set out at the Resources Committee this morning, each of those individual decisions would need to be taken by me as 151 officer or Cabinet as and when those decisions presented themselves when a receipt was received. Hopefully that clarifies the position and makes sense.
Thank you. Councillor Davis.
Thank you. Just to say, Darren, thank you very much for your presentation. I know it's not easy to come to a meeting like this. It can be quite intimidating, so thank you for that. Councillor Woodham-Costa, just for my benefit and for the benefit of people in the room, could you explain a bit about the consequences of not having a master plan? Because in my view, it's a protective measure, as you were kind of saying earlier. Could you maybe expand a bit about what would be the consequences of not having a master plan?
Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Davis. Thank you, Chair. Not having a master plan would lead to what I called and have called in the past piecemeal development. Could lead to piecemeal development. It would mean, Councillor Davison, that houses and any other development took place without really consideration to the bigger picture and the wider area and the implications of it. It would also mean a significant lack of control or reduction in control for the local residents and for the council itself in terms of how that development might take place, as opposed to having a master plan. But also, you know, I think a master plan allows you to go like this, whereas not having a master plan and only having individual planning applications for little bits of land here, there and everywhere forces you to do this. And as I'm sure colleagues are aware, when such plans for housing development go to the planning committee, which is the body that would, you know, decide whether they would be approved or not as the planning authority, the planning committee has to consider whether it fits within the various frameworks, local and national. And if it was to be the case that a plan for a bit of this met the criteria, they would either necessitate approval of the committee or open the door for the overturning of a rejection, or refusal by the inspectorate. So thank you.
Thank you. Tony, you want to come
I
back?
just want to add a couple of more points about
Yes.
I guess the benefits of a master plan. As Councillor Lucas has said, it enables you to look at the site in the round. This is a 175-acre site, so it's a huge site. And part of a master plan will be about protecting a lot of the features of the site as it currently stands. As people know, there's Jubilee Woods, there's a protected area of archaeological ridge and furrow. So a master plan enables you to basically protect those areas and identify a much smaller part of the site that potentially could be for development. The second benefit in terms of master plan for Packmoor, is that it opens up the possibility of looking at a tiered adult social care facility on the site, which is something that is being looked at as well. So what I mean by that is a care complex where if you're an adult that needs some level of care, without moving between residential homes, nursing homes and other types of facilities, as your dependency increase, you could move within the site from supported living to extra care to residential care to nursing home care. So part of the master plan is specifically looking at the possibility of an adult social care facility as well. You can't do that when you're just doing a section of a site for 100 to 150 homes, but you can look at those type of facilities at scale with a large site.
Thank you. Anybody?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just building on that. So when will the master plan be at a point that will be published?
So I think we expect it in the next couple of months.
It'll be publicly published, yeah?
It will be coming to the public domain, Chair. Yes, yeah, it'll be open, it'll be published, and it will be subject to a further period of public consultation.
Okay. Anybody else?
Can I ask questions or not? Am I excluded? Okay, sorry. I don't.
I think the important thing for the residents is how their concerns can be fed into the shaping of any plan of the area. So what's the process from here going forward after that next step?
Isn't that part of the
As
consultation on the
As you
master
know, Councillor Martha, we're here, we don't have decision making.
I know we're not decision making, but it's ensuring that the residents' concern are fed into that process. Yeah, but obviously.
I fully understand what you say, but the cabinet member or the officers can give you an answer on that. I'm fine. Councillor Carter.
Thank you, Chair. Is the master plan treated in the same way as the local plan, part of it, and it's a legal process that we have to follow where residents get the required consultation time? I don't know if I'm asking that too, sorry. Jeremy.
Shall I pick that up, Chair?
Tony, you want to answer
I'm
this?
happy to pick it up if that's okay.
Thank you.
So the local plan and the master plan are two separate but related issues. The local plan has a legal framework around it that requires minimum periods of public consultation by statute, because you're proposing a plan that covers the city. Master plans don't have a statutory requirement, but the best practice period of time you consult on a master plan would be about 4 weeks. We're not talking about a few days, it will be at least 4 weeks.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank
Do
you.
you want to come back?
No, that's Tony's disposal. Thank you.
Okay. Would the cabinet member or senior officer like to make any final comments? No? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I would just like to once again thank Darren and everyone else from the Packmoor community for being here, and say that, you know, as a council, we really welcome petitions and recognise that they are one way that people can let us know their concerns and feedback on our proposals for the city. Subsequently, we are considering the petition and evidence submitted on Packmoor Masterplan, and we will decide if any of the recommendations are appropriate. But all the comments that we made have been noted and will be included in the plan feedback. We believe that the best way forward is to continue to engage at every level with the community and developing a master plan. Packmoor is one way of doing that, as is the Packmoor Community Liaison Group that I insisted was set up to give residents voice in this process. We've already communicated quite extensively with thousands of residents in Packmoor, H58, Whitechapel, Ixhill and the surrounding areas. We've hosted numerous events in the local areas to keep people informed and capture their views. The master plan would set out more specific proposals for public consultation, so there would be plenty more opportunities for people to have their say, and it would also provide people with a clearer view of the residential, the extra care facilities and the highways improvements that could be delivered alongside new and affordable homes. I think that last point is very important and comes back to what Tony said about, you know, the master planning process as a whole. We recognise that the previous approaches which have just been build at pace and don't really consider the wider area aren't right. We want any development to work properly for the community, and we want to make sure that it provides something additional that isn't already there. We know that there's a lack of that extra care provision in the city. We want to put that right, and this is one of the ways that we would like to do that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Can I ask, will the first master plan will be on live on the internet? Will everybody know that the master plan is there? They can have a look at it and comment on it if they want.
Yes, thank you,
Could
Chair.
you just explain that to me?
Thank you, Chair. The master plan would obviously be in the public domain, as has been said previously, and I would hope that the Packmoor Community Liaison would be able to consider that master plan and the specific proposals in it. Specifically, of course, we welcome feedback on it from anyone in the community and the surrounding areas.
Thank you for that, clearing that up. Would the lead petitioner like to make any final comments?
Comments or respond to questions that we've asked? No, just purely comments.
Comments, yes.
Well, when Councillor Brewster just said that this motion that you now noted, does that mean that's the end of it? Is it going any further forward at this point or not? Is that the end of the process? Will we be coming back again for any more or not? Is that the end of it? I don't know.
Yes.
Pick that up then.
Yeah.
I think what,
yes, you can.
yeah, sorry. I think that what the councillor's just said is that all your comments have been noted and they will be included in any feedback. So this will go further,
right?
Not as a petition, as feedback for what you just talked about.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So the recommendations that we put forward, will they be actioned or looked into? The 5 recommendations.
Tony, can you answer that, please?
For example, you're requesting the council to withdraw it from the local plan. Neither I nor this committee or anybody around it has that authority to do that. So I think what I would propose is that we, as we've already agreed, will provide a detailed response to each of the 7 questions, and where the sub-questions will pick those up. So you've got something in writing that reflects, I guess, the council's response in detail to the questions raised by the petition. But obviously, the information in the petition has been a large submission of background documents quite recently, last week or so. That will also inform the local plan and indeed the master plan as well.
Okay. And going on regarding your description of brownfield and obviously the difficulties, which I appreciate, but there's still in excess of 156 sites sitting idle, not being used. And secondly, when did the council last trigger any compulsory purchase orders for these difficult sites? I know you're saying they're never coming forward, but why don't you enforce compulsory purchasing then?
Sorry, there's no questions. You just want to clear yourself.
Sorry,
you
You can't question. Let me,
Yeah.
perhaps I can be helpful on this one. As members of the committee will know, and just to help Gavin, the rules of compulsory purchase are very, very limited. They're specified in legislation. Critical Gang precedent highlighted that one in terms of whether the motorway was constructed. And that case, the Critical Gang case, highlighted to a large degree the difficulties at issue with regard to compulsory purchase and with regard to the tightening of the framework that took place afterwards. So, for instance, compulsory purchase be for a specific reason, but very limited functions for it, and it wouldn't be applicable in terms of the formation of a local plan.
No. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone. Can I ask if the committee would like to make any recommendations?
Can I move that we just note the petition?
Thank you.
Chair, I thought it would be helpful if we could move a recommendation, just based on what the director's just said about having answers second.
I think we've already had something moved, haven't we, Chair?
It wasn't seconded.
It was about to be seconded. I'd like to second what Councillor Davidson's just said.
You're shutting it down.
Yeah, that's not proceeding.
I'm just following the...
Chair, I can confirm the correct procedure is followed. The only person that can speak after the motion has been proposed is the person wanting to second it, as Councillor Gentleman will recall.
Just following
and
rules
so
now.
that wasn't actually appropriate, but of course Councillor Gentleman is able to move an amendment if he wishes.
I move an amendment to the motion that Councillor Carter has just seconded.
Okay.
So we'll move an amendment that the report noted and that the presentation given by Mr. Bamford is sent to the Cabinet and the Cabinet member for review, and any questions Tony's outlined, any questions are sent to the group, any questions which are answered, the answers are sent to the group.
Chair, I can confirm the amendment is absolutely in order from a legal perspective. Obviously, it does require seconding or accepting a friendly amendment.
We're all seconding it.
So accept as a friendly, so that's part of the motion.
So, should we take it on the
It's all about credibility, Gary. I've lost no credibility in seconding the motion. Just grow up.
So Chair, the amendment has been accepted as a friendly amendment, and so it's now part of the motion. So you're voting on that it be noted and the words Councillor Gentleman used, which you'll see through in a moment.
Councillor Gentleman knows this anyway, you know this is as a committee. Anyway, are we voting on the what James just mentioned?
The motion is amended, yes.
Motion is amended. So can we take a vote, please? Okay, it's carried unanimously. So that's it. Anything else? Okay, can I just say thank you very much for coming along, and hope you will hear from the council or anybody who will contact you. And thank you for your residents who come along as well. And as you know, it's going through now. You will note the report, and you will hear from the committee members or from, is it you or you? It will be raised through the officers. Okay? Thank you very much.
Okay, I'd like to thank everybody for being patient and bearing with me. I know I might not be procedurally correct, but you know, I'll try my best.
No problem with that.
Thank you.
Can I just ask, we're going for a conference break now? 5 minutes or 20 minutes?